Hi everyone, John Day again, and this is part 4 of the user support area using our Microsoft Office. So I'm building this user support facility, and in this video what I'm going to do is show you in detail how I created that feedback form that I ever so briefly touched on. I think it was in part 2 actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and just take you from the ground upwards in case you're new to forms. I'm going to show you how to add the questions. I'm going to use branching, and then I'm going to go through all the configuration settings in there for a feedback survey. If you're interested in doing for Microsoft Forms for quizzes, that will be another video that I'll do later on, but it'll be a very quick one because there's only a few subtle changes between the two. So I may provide during the team like a feedback form that could be really useful. So to do that, I'm going to go in and first of all, just do this on the general channel so that this is a generalization. I want feedback from all the users. So I'm going to click the plus box at the top here, and I'm going to go and introduce a new Forms app and plug that into my team. Now, if you've already built the form, if we're going to do add an existing form, if I've got any forms already existing, I can use them. I'm going to create a new form from scratch, but this is going to be sort of a topical form that's going to capture, analyze their responses and see that we are going about our form, our team environment in the right way. So it's like a survey. So I'm going to call this one mouse survey. Click save. If you're new to forms, watch this. Otherwise you can skip this bit, go to the next bit. But I've got my form ready for me to build. I'm going to create and add a new question. The purpose of forms normally is to analyze captured responses. So if you give them text boxes and your question is what's your favorite topic, as I said, people might put in PowerPoint with a space, without a space, with a hyphen, they put PPT. So I can't analyze responses if everyone's got a different way of typing in the value of the response. So instead of using questions, where you want measurable results in a survey, use the captured options, such as a choice, rating scales. You can use Likert, which I'm going to do. And these are sort of structures where they can select, click. It's good for them because they can get through the survey quicker than have to fill in data. You're only going to get them to fill in data with areas that you don't know the answer to at all in terms of the range of a variety of answers. So with the choice, I'm going to put in something like, how did you hear about this user support environment? Question mark. Now, you can add as many options as you like, so I'm going to put in there things like team meeting. They might have heard of this through our intranet. Training course, where we're doing rollout of Office 365 through some training courses in classroom areas. But then there could be other situations that I've not even thought of before. So you could click add option and do other. Okay, you can click other option. There's a built-in one. What's the difference between these? Well, there's only two things that would drive you to whether you're going to build your own other or use the built-in one. The built-in one, you can't reorder. I can't drag that grade other. It always sits at the bottom. Whereas my one, I can drag that in any place. Yes, understandably, the word other would normally sit at the bottom of the list. The other one is the built-in other would provide a text box where they can type in what they want. I want to keep that, in my example, a separate question. I want a question 2 that says specify your other. Maybe I want to take that second question to other people, say, look, there's some ideas we haven't thought about yet about promoting our team. Could you look into these? So instead of the built-in other, I'm going to use the other that I've created. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep them both so that you can see the experience of the response difference. You've seen one, I can't move the built-in other up and down the list. So if I preview this form as it is, you see I've got the other. It's just an option. I can't type against it. The built-in other, I can then put in some text. Okay, now either's plausible, depends on how you want to go about your survey. In this example, I'm going to deliberately use my own personal one and not the built-in one, and that's because I want to introduce branching, and I'm going to use that for my branching point. Okay, so that's my question done. I'm going to go to the bottom now. I'm going to add a new question, and that new question is in response to other. So I'm going to have a text box built where they say specify where you heard about this user support environment. Yes, thank you. I know about the branching, but I'll talk about that later. And then I'm going to add the other two questions that I'm going to put in. It's only going to be a very short survey, but please note, when you actually do work with these questions, you can use the up and down arrows to reorder the questions. Now, in many cases, it's quite obvious. You can see the physical change, but when you've got questions that are very, very similar, it's kind of hard to keep track of these, and you only see like one or two questions on the screen at a time. Little tip: if you find that you're moving these up and it doesn't look that obvious, and you're getting lost about which position, which number that question is, and you've got lots of questions, try using your control key on the keyboard. Hold that down, and then use your mouse wheel and the wheel down. And what that does, it allows you to zoom out of the page, like any web page this works on. But the idea is I can then, as I move up and down, you can see it's slightly more obvious where I'm moving that question now, as opposed to where it was before, amongst lots of other questions. And then to bring it back to normal size, hold down the control key and press the 0 on the QWERTY on the top row of your keyboard above the letter P. So control and 0 will resize the web page back to normal size. So that's quite a nice little trick that's useful for navigation around the questions. Click add new. Let's add another one, and this one's going to be a rating. So I'd like them to rate different areas of my Office 365 support area. So I'm going to use a Likert. Likerts allow you to sort of provide different topics or matters to rate, and then you choose the values in which they're used for the scaling, if you like. So they can say, well, my answer's like very good or very excellent, that sort of thing. So in the question I'm going to put, please, I'm too polite, rate the following features of our support environment. And that would be things like, I don't know, look and feel. Does it look good? Does it feel quite comfortable to work in? Is it easy to search or navigate around? What else we're looking for? The ease of use. Can you get around the environment quickly, pleasantly? And the last one will be in there was sort of like relevance. Is the content relevant? If only I could spell relevance. So 4 sections in there. I've got a 5th one done by mistake, just to show if I do put any extra ones in there, if I want to remove them, you can click in there and just use the little bin there to delete it. Brilliant. Now across the top I've got 5 options. I actually think I might need 6 here, but let's have a look. So I could put in there from 10 being excellent to 1 being rubbish. I'm actually going to use more descriptive ratings. So this would be things like excellent, then I want to do very good, and then good. Now at this point, usually after the 1st, the 2nd, or you can see here in the 3rd, the forms will start to pick up on what you're using, the keywords you're using, and then start providing some supportive options for you. So here I'm going to say, well, actually this is really good. I'm going to nick some of yours. I'm going to use average, click in the next one, and then I've got poor, and now I'm looking for a very poor, run out of space. I'm just going to click in this grey area here, click the plus button, and then pick the very poor. Look at that, bit of time saver, that's very good. Okay, so last thing now is going to do one more question, and that is going to be a text box that says any further comments or suggestions will be appreciated. And I've got a text box there that provides only a small amount of text, so I can enable the long answer, and that will provide a larger box that they can scroll within, and they can then sort of type in, maybe put bullet points and things like that into their answer. And the last thing I've got in there at the moment is whether I want these questions to be mandatory or not. So this one's optional. The rate the following, I'll have a look at this in a moment because I do want that to be required. The whole point of the survey is to fill that in. And I also want the top one to be important. But I am not picking the second one. And that is because based on what they choose in question 1 will determine whether they get the second option or not. So I don't want to make it mandatory if they haven't picked other. That would kind of complicate it. So we just zoom this out of fractions so you can see my question is a bit better. There we go. So if they pick, for example, team meeting, intranet or training course, if they pick any of them, I would like it to skip question 2 and branch down to question 3 and then continue downwards. If they pick other, that's when I want it to go to question 2, do that one, and then carry on down to question 3 and 4 as per normal. So I want the flow of my survey to sort of work in that kind of method. Now to do that, what they've done in surveys now is you click inside a question. If you go to the ellipsis inside the question, you can now look at changing to branching. So what that does, it now says, okay, with this you can choose which question each of these options jump to. Can't do it with text boxes naturally because we have no idea how to capture something we don't know they've typed in. But here what I can do, well, these are preset answers, so I'm going to say with these first 3, go to the rate the following, and with the other I can either say progress naturally into the next question, but that would be whatever the next question is. So if I move around my questions later and I want this to specifically ask that question, I can make it jump, even though it is the next one, make it jump to that. Just in case I insert new questions or rejiggle them around, this will not break the flow of where they're supposed to or intended to go. Now that's it. You know, the only thing you can do with text boxes, if it was relevant, is if they do fill that one in, jump to, and you can say whatever your answer is, jump this to another question. So you can do that. You can jump to one particular point. But I'm going to say now go to next there, go to next there, and go to next there. So that's your branching options. So when you're finished with the branching, and you can build that in the environment as you go along, you can click the back button. That'll take you back out of the branching area, and you're now back to your question building area to finish. There we go. My form's finished. Now let's give it a go and see how that looks. So I'm going to preview it first. Yeah, looks good. Tells me that field's required. If I click training meeting, it skips to the rating or Likert, and then what I called the 4th question, that called courses are now 2 and 3 instead of 3 and 4. For big other, my second question is the text box, then it's the Likert. And then the idea is that when they're finished, we have the responses gathered back, and there'd be like graphs there showing you what options were popular, which ones were not popular. So I can use that as my analytics, if you like. I've already got this form inside my tab. All I've got to do now is just click on the drop down arrow and rename it. So I'd like to call this feedback survey. Okay, so that would be the mouse feedback survey. So I can create themes, so I can pick some of the built-in themes that are here. I don't really use these themes a lot because they take too much focus away from the survey and the people looking in the background. There are some nice coloured ones. There's some sort of very sort of childy arty ones which are quite nice and gentle. You can add your own. So you can either add your own theme colour that could be good for corporate theming, so it uses the right colour schemes of your theme. So you can contact your branding team for those colour. What you're looking for in there is the correct RGB sort of shading, if you like. So you're looking for how much red, how much green, how much blue. So your branding team could provide that to you. And it's asking for it in hexadecimal. That's what it's asking for. So asking for the hex RGB for any branding or corporate theme colours. Or you can go into your branding team where they might provide you with some artwork and you can upload them. Check with the organisation when you're using branding to see what the actual the governance of the allowability is. I'm just going to quickly go into mine, and I'll pick I've got a logo one there that's medium sized. Now the important thing is when you upload the images, they can't be bigger than 5 megabytes. So I think that one's under 5 meg. Let's find out. If it isn't, it tells you the logo. A little warning comes up in red, sort of underneath where you're attempting to upload the graphic. Okay, and then let that upload take place, and then what happens is it will pick up the image. What if you don't specify a color? What it sometimes does, it looks at what's the most common color in there and then uses it. So you could go with that. I know that the corporate John Day QA coloring is B8 AE6E, so that's like kind of like a goldy effect there. We've got several different gold effects, but that one's the one I like. There we go. So there we go. That's the theme customized. You have also got in the title. So if I click inside the title, you've got a little picture box there. So I could go and grab a smaller logo. That'll do. That'll do for now. Oh, that's okay. Seems to work all right. So we'll get away with it. And then I'm going to put in there. Please let us know what you think of our support environment and how we can improve it. There we go. So I'm just going to have a look at that and preview it. There's my form and all its beauty, and then the users can go in there and fill that in. Now the last thing is the behavior of the form. So now that I've got that launched in there, how do I make that something that the users can do either once, or they could work with it and fill it in every month or something like that. So if I go into the tab in the top right corner in forms, and you can see there that I've got a couple of options. The one I'm doing is first is settings. So let's have a look at the settings on the right hand side here. So anyone with the link can respond. I could give that open. Bear in mind this is especially a company based support area, so that could be quite a good option. Only people in my organization can respond. So this would allow me to capture the details of the person, and it's only internal, not to guests. So with that I can record the name. The idea is it will capture the person's user account name and provide it in there so I can see who's actually suggested what. If you want to not show the name, and you're welcome to, but please don't stress to anyone that that is anonymous. It's not anonymous. I can still grab the information who's done this. Just say to them, your name has not been recorded for the survey purposes. So, you know, the survey has not recorded your name. Don't say it's anonymous. One response per person. I'm going to leave that disabled for now. I'll show you in a minute why. One response per person, so they can only fill it in once, or I can have them fill it in many, many times. I would like them to fill it in every occasion so that they can give us a guidance on if we're improving or responding sufficiently to their requests. And now accept responses just means, is this form active? If I take that tick out, no one can fill this form in, and I can put in a message that says this form is not live yet for such and such reasons. Okay. The alternative way of doing that is by accepting responses through a start date. So if I say we're accepting responses, this is active, but only from let's say the 27th of April, and then that will end at the end of, let's say, end of June. Get them in by the end of the workday. Okay. Other options that are useful: shuffling questions. I've got 4 questions in there. If I was doing a quiz, I could enable the shuffle questions, and it would do exactly that. It will shuffle the questions around so that anyone who's done the quiz can't go to their colleague and go, oh yeah, the answer to number 2 was A and 3 was B. And you can also, when you enable it, specify that questions 1 to 2 are not to be shuffled, because maybe questions 1 to 2 is asking what's your name and what's your department. You don't want them shuffled around. Mine's grayed out because I've used branching. You can't have shuffled questions when you've got branching in your survey. So if you turn the branching off, get rid of that, you can shuffle questions. You've got a customized thank you. So that just appears on screen when they filled the form in. So say your response was submitted. There we go. A couple more things. Do I want to send an email receipt back to the respondent? So when they filled it in, so I send an email to say, just confirm we have received your thing. It's grayed out. Of course it's grayed out. If I have said don't record the name, how do I know who's actually sent it and who to email to? So if I record the name, I can now send an email back to that recorded person. Okay. Get email notification of each response. If you're getting a lot of these on a regular basis, you might not want this. you could create a little Power Automate that just sends a quick list at the end of each week or the end of a day. 6 people have done that, rather than do it in the form itself. But otherwise, a good sort of tick or tick, and then what happened is our owners, our people would receive a response, say, yes, Bob's just filled this in. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I could do that in other more subtle means. Brilliant. Okay, so that looks like the environment. I'm actually not going to do a start date and end date because no one can get into the team and fill the form in. But if they were able to get into the form outside of that, I could do the start date. I could even just turn the form off and then turn it on when the team goes live. So there are lots of ways around that I can plan and consider. Brilliant. Okay, I think that's job done. So let's come away from that, preview it. There we go. Looks good. And now we've got that filled in. Oh dear. Oh, you're looking at my horrible background behind my screen. It's dropped. I don't care. I'm so tired. I've been working on these 4 videos in the past 24 hours. And I'm going to keep rolling some more out because I have to get this environment built. Really do have to get this built for many, many reasons. But I hope you like the Microsoft Forms. It's a quite nice, gentle one. But I did put in some little tiny gentle hints about what I'm going to do with that form. I am going to be doing some very clever stuff with that using Power Automate. So check out my channel, please, because there's going to be some great stuff coming with this Office user support group that I'm doing over the next couple of weeks. You can ask me questions. You can also put me some suggestions for any kinds of things you'd like to see in that Office support user group. That'd be fantastic. So stay at home, stay safe, and have fun.